All right, so are you ready to dive into this TikTok craziness? Because things
Yeah.
are getting wild. You've probably heard about a possible ban, the Supreme Court getting involved, maybe even some stuff going on with the presidents. It's a lot, right?
It's a lot happening all at once, for sure. Yeah, you got Congress, the Supreme Court, two presidents, and TikTok itself all kind of stuck in the middle of this whole thing.
The clock is ticking too, right? The deadline is this Sunday, January 19th, for ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company over in China, to sell it to a company here in the U.S., or else no more TikTok in the U.S.
Yeah, so what we're going to try to do today is figure out what's really going on. Will they actually ban TikTok? What could happen? And the big question now what does it all mean for you?
Because, let's face it, this isn't just some boring legal stuff happening somewhere else. This could mean you can't use your favorite app anymore, no more dances, funny videos, or even, some of those news stories you see.
Yeah, and even if you don't use TikTok all the time, this whole situation brings up some big questions about things like data privacy, national security, and how much power the government should have over the apps we use.
Okay, so to understand what's going on, let's rewind a bit. This whole thing started with a law that Congress passed and Biden signed back in April 2024.
Right, and the reason behind it. Worries about national security. People in the government were and still are really concerned about TikTok being owned by a Chinese company.
So is this just people being paranoid, or are there real reasons to be worried?
It's complicated. The worry is that the Chinese government could get access to information from millions of American TikTok users through ByteDance. We're talking names, addresses, what websites they visit, all of it. And some people are worried the app could be used to spread fake news or propaganda.
Okay, that's kind of scary. So this law basically says, sell TikTok to an American company or else.
But wait, didn't I hear something about a possible extension? Yeah, there is one. Biden can actually push the deadline back by 90 days, but there's a catch. He has to show Congress that ByteDance is really trying to sell TikTok.
And from what we're hearing, it doesn't sound like ByteDance is too excited about letting go of their prized possession, are they?
Not really, no. And that's where things get even more interesting. Remember how I mentioned the Supreme Court is involved? Well, they're talking about whether this whole law is even allowed.
Oh, hold on. So this could affect way more than just TikTok, right?
Huh?
We're talking about maybe changing the rules for how the U.S. government can control other apps and websites owned by companies in other countries.
Exactly. TikTok is saying that this law is against free speech, and they have tons of users in the U.S. to back them up. But get this, during the Supreme Court hearings, it sounded like the justices weren't so sure.
So are they thinking about saying the ban is okay? What's the feeling?
Hard to say for sure, but the questions they asked definitely showed they had some serious concerns. Like Chief Justice Roberts straight up asked, are we supposed to ignore that TikTok's parent company has to follow Chinese intelligence laws?
That's a loaded question. It really gets to the heart of why people are worried about the app's security. And to make things even more intense, the Supreme Court could make a decision any day now.
It's a real nail-biter. Just imagine the fate of this super popular app used by so many people in America could be decided any minute, and it might just disappear.
That's crazy. But you know what's even crazier? I heard that both Biden and Trump are trying to figure out how to keep TikTok running. Didn't they both want to ban it before?
Yeah, it's a real plot twist. Biden was on board with the ban at first, but now it seems like he's trying to find ways to delay it. And then there's Trump. He was all about banning TikTok during his first term, and now he's saying he wants to save it.
It's like they switched teams in the middle of the game. How could they even do that, though? What options do they have?
Well, Biden could use that 90-day extension, but he'd have to make a really strong case to Congress and prove that a sale is going to happen soon. As for Trump, he might try an executive order, basically like a presidential command to delay or maybe even stop the ban completely.
Wait, hold on. Can he just ignore a law made by Congress with an executive order?
That's a great question, and it's a tricky legal area. Executive orders are powerful, but whether they can totally overrule existing laws is up for debate, especially since the Supreme Court might get involved.
Wow, so we have two presidents who usually don't agree on anything, possibly working together to go around Congress and maybe even the Supreme Court just to keep TikTok alive. That's some serious political maneuvering.
It's practically unheard of, and it really shows how influential TikTok is, not just as a social media app, but as a cultural force that people care about.
It's mind-blowing. But let's not get too caught up in the politics. With all this back and forth, we can't forget that TikTok might actually disappear on Sunday. Like, poof, gone.
Imagine waking up on Monday morning, going for your phone, and TikTok is just gone. What would that be like for people who use it?
Well, for starters, No more late night scrolling.
Yeah.
Apple and Google would probably remove it from their app stores, so no more downloads. And even though people who already have it might be able to use it for a bit.
It would basically become a digital ghost town. No new stuff, no fixes, no new videos. Eventually, it would just stop working.
So you're saying it'd be like TikTok stuck in January 2025 forever?
Yeah, kind of. And think about what would happen after that. What if you use TikTok for your business to stay in touch with family and friends or even to get news? You'd have to find something else to use and fast.
Speaking of finding something else, I read that some people are already switching to Chinese alternatives.
Which is kind of funny since the whole reason for this ban is to deal with security worries about Chinese companies. It's like trying to stop one app and another one pops up with maybe the same risks.
It makes you wonder, is this ban even going to work? Or are people just going to find other ways to see the same stuff no matter where it comes from?
That's a good question. It shows how hard it is to control technology in a world where everything is connected. Try to control one platform and the information, the trends, the content, it all finds new ways to get out there.
Okay, so if banning it isn't the answer, then what is? Is there any way out of this?
Well, the solution that seems to make everyone happy, at least in theory, is for an American company to buy TikTok. That would supposedly take care of the security worries and let the app keep going.
And we've heard some pretty big names as possible buyers, right?
Yeah.
There's Elon Musk, the tech superstar.
Who we know has a history of doing things his own way when it comes to rules in the government. That could be a good or bad thing, depending on how things go, especially if Trump really wants to save TikTok, like he said. Musk could be his guy.
Then there's Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He knows how to make deals. And don't forget Frank McCourt, who used to own the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
He's working with O'Leary on this.
Their offer is interesting because it's partly crowdfunded. They're actually trying to get TikTok users to put money together to buy part of the platform. That's definitely a new way of doing things.
It's like they're saying, hey, if you love TikTok so much, put your money where your mouth is.
Ah.
But there's a problem, right? Their offer doesn't include the algorithm, which might be a deal breaker for ByteDance.
You're right. And that brings up a fascinating question. What exactly is this algorithm and why is it such a big deal?
Well, for those who don't know how TikTok works, the algorithm is basically the brains of the app.
Yeah.
It decides what videos you see, how long they play, and keeps you hooked for hours.
It tracks every time you tap, swipe, or pause, figuring out what you like, and then shows you more of that stuff to keep you interested.
It's like a puppet master controlling your attention.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's why TikTok is so successful. It's personalized entertainment on a whole other level.
So you can see why ByteDance would want to give that up.
Okay.
It's like Coca-Cola selling their secret formula.
Exactly. It would be like taking away what makes TikTok special, what keeps people coming back.
But then again, if they don't sell the algorithm, they might lose all of their users in the U.S. It's a tough choice.
It really is. It shows the hard decision ByteDance has to make. Do they want to keep control of their special technology, or do they give in to the U.S. government and keep their app going in a huge market?
And to make things even more complicated, any sale would probably need approval from the Chinese government.
Yeah, they have a say in this too. So even if an American buyer comes with a ton of money, it's not over yet. It's a delicate balancing act, trying to make both the U.S. and Chinese governments happy while making sure TikTok stays successful.
It's like they're walking a tightrope over a pit of sharks with everyone watching to see if they'll make it. So what happens now? We have a deadline coming up, a possible Supreme Court decision that could change everything. 2 presidents playing power games, and the future of TikTok is totally up in the air.
It's a lot to think about for sure, but one thing's for certain. This TikTok story is far from over. And what happens next could have a big impact, not just on this one app, but on the entire internet as we know it.
Yeah, it really is a wild story. But, you know, with all this political and legal stuff going on, we can't forget about the people actually using TikTok. I mean, what would a ban actually mean for you, our listener?
Yeah, that's the important question, isn't it? Besides all the headlines and court cases, this is about real people and how this decision could change their lives.
For a lot of people, especially younger folks, TikTok is more than just an app. It's a community, a place to be creative, even a way to make money for some. Losing that could be a big deal.
Absolutely. Imagine waking up one day and your whole online world is gone. The friends you made, the creators you followed, all the jokes and trends, just gone.
Like a digital ghost town, like you said before. And it's not just about personal use either. Think about all the businesses and groups that rely on TikTok for their work.
Yeah, they would have to figure out what to do quickly and might lose connections and money they've worked hard for. The impact on people who make content could be huge. They could lose a really important way to reach their audience and earn a living.
And don't forget about the cultural impact. TikTok has been this amazing place for new trends, music dances. It's even helped people become famous. What happens to all that creative energy if the app disappears?
That's a tough question. Maybe those trends would move to other apps, but it's hard to copy what TikTok has. It's possible new platforms would pop up, but that takes time, and who knows if they'd be the same.
It almost feels like we'd be losing something culturally, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
silencing a whole generation. And then, of course, there's the whole data privacy thing, which affects everyone, not just TikTok users.
Yeah, that's where things get really tricky. On one hand, there are real worries about the Chinese government maybe getting user data through TikTok. But let's be honest, American companies like Facebook and Google haven't exactly been perfect with data privacy either.
True, they've had their own problems over the years. So it makes you wonder, is this really about national security, or is it also about protecting American tech companies?
It's probably a bit of both. And that brings up some tough questions. How do we keep the country safe but also protect people's rights, like freedom of speech and access to information? Can we trust any company with our data, whether they're from here or another country? These are conversations we need to have as a society, regardless of what happens with TikTok.
It's like we're at a crossroads, not just for TikTok, but for the entire internet.
Exactly. What happens in the next few days could have a ripple effect for years to come, changing how we use technology, how our data is used, and who controls the online world.
So let's bring it back to reality for a second. What can you, our listener, do right now to get ready for a possible TikTok ban?
Well, the first thing is to really think about how you use TikTok. What does it mean to you? Is it just for fun? A tool for your job? A way to connect with people? Once you know how you use it, you can start looking at other options.
And the good news is there are a lot of options out there.
Oh yeah, tons. If you like short videos, there's Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, even Snapchat Spotlight. And for connecting with people, there's always Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of smaller websites.
But it's important to remember that no app is perfect. They all have good and bad things about them, their own rules about data privacy and ways they could be misused.
Right. There's no one solution that works for everyone. Do your research, pick apps that you feel good about, and be careful about what you share online.
And maybe even more importantly, don't be afraid to try different things. Explore different apps, see what you like, and don't rely on just one.
That's a great point. This whole TikTok thing reminds us that the internet is always changing. Apps come and go, algorithms get updated, and we need to be flexible and stay informed so we can make good choices.
Okay, so we've talked about what might happen if TikTok gets banned, and we've looked at some alternatives, but let's not forget about the possibility of a sale. Could TikTok be saved by an American buyer? Is there a hero waiting in the wings?
It's definitely still possible, though. As we've said, things are changing all the time. Like we mentioned before, there are a few potential buyers, each with their own ideas and reasons for wanting to buy TikTok.
Let's start with Elon Musk. He's got the money, the tech knowledge, and he's not afraid to do things differently. But he also has a, let's say, interesting relationship with rules and the government.
And don't forget his connection to Trump, which could be a good or bad thing depending on the political situation. If Trump is serious about saving TikTok, Musk might be the guy he goes to.
Then we have Kevin O'Leary and Frank McCourt, who are trying something different with their crowdfunded offer.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea trying to get TikTok users to help buy the platform.
It definitely shows how much people care about TikTok, but it also makes you wonder how that kind of ownership would actually work. Could a platform run by its users really be successful?
It's a bold move, that's for sure. But their offer doesn't include the algorithm, which we know might be a deal breaker for ByteDance.
It's a tough decision for them. The algorithm is like their most valuable thing. The secret to TikTok's success. Giving it up would be huge.
But keeping it might mean losing all of their users in the U.S.
It's like they have to choose between what they believe in and what makes business sense. And to make things even harder, they need the Chinese government to agree to any sale.
It was like a high-stakes poker game with billions of dollars and the future of TikTok at stake. Who's going to back down first?
That's the big question. And we might not know the answer until the very last second.
So for all you TikTok fans out there,
Yeah.
I guess all we can do is wait and see. But while we're waiting, let's not just mindlessly scroll through our feeds.
This is a chance to think about the bigger picture, the power of online platforms, and the choices we make as users and as people.
We need to ask ourselves, what kind of internet do we want? Who should be in control of the apps and websites we use? And how can we make sure our data is safe while still letting creativity and new ideas happen?
These are questions that are bigger than just TikTok. They're about the future of technology and how it affects our lives.
And as we figure out this new territory, It's more important than ever to stay informed, stay involved, and keep asking questions.
Because in the end, the future of the internet is up to us.
It really is like we're standing on the edge of something completely new in the digital world, and we have no idea what's waiting for us on the other side.
You know, one thing that's really amazed me throughout all of this is how tough TikTok has been.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's incredible. They've dealt with bans, legal battles, political pressure, and it's still here.
Yeah.
It's like a digital cockroach or something. Like it can survive anything.
And you know, maybe there's a lesson in there for us. Maybe it's about the power of community, how technology can adapt, or just simply that people want to connect and create no matter what.
It definitely shows you how popular this platform is. It's got this ability to grab your attention, make you want to create, and make you feel like you belong, even when the world feels kind of crazy. Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive with a little thought experiment. Imagine for a second that TikTok actually makes it through all of this. Maybe there's a last-minute deal. Maybe the Supreme Court steps in, or maybe the new Trump administration figures out how to get around the law.
That's a really interesting thought. Lots of possibilities, but also some potential problems. But it also makes you think about the future of how we control the internet, the power struggle between governments and these huge tech companies, and what this all means for other apps and platforms owned by companies in other countries that are operating here in the U.S.
What kind of example would this set for the future of the internet? Would it be a victory for free speech and access to information, or would it be a risky move that could encourage other countries to try and control digital platforms within their own borders?
It's a complicated question. On one hand, letting TikTok keep running in the U.S., even with all the security worries, could tell other countries that they can also put pressure on American tech companies to get access to user data or control what people see online.
It's like it could start a digital arms race, where every country is fighting to control information and the money that comes with it.
Right. But on the other hand, if TikTok wins, it could also be seen as a win for individual freedom, a stand against the government having too much power, and a reminder that the internet should be open to everyone.
It could give people around the world the power to fight back against censorship, demand more honesty from tech companies, and stand up for their right to connect and talk freely.
It's a tricky balance, weighing the risks and the benefits. And ultimately, how this all plays out will depend on a whole mix of political, economic, and social factors.
So as we stand here at this turning point, it's not just about the future of one app. It's about what kind of digital world we want to build. Do we want a world where governments can tell us what we can and can't see online?
Or do we want a world where people can make their own decisions, connect with whoever they want, and express themselves without being censored or watched?
These are questions that go way beyond TikTok. They're questions we need to be asking ourselves as we try to understand this crazy digital world we live in.
And in the end, the answers come down to what we do, the choices we make as users, as citizens, as part of this global online world.
So as we wrap things up today, I want to leave you with a feeling of hope, but also caution, a sense of what's possible, and a sense of responsibility.
The future of the internet isn't set in stone. We're creating it every day with every click, every post, every connection we make.
So stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay involved. Because the digital world isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build together. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of TikTok. We'll be back soon to explore more of the exciting and sometimes scary things that are shaping the future of technology and how it affects our lives.